Welcome to Global Journeys with Jill Dutton, the captivating travel podcast that takes you on an extraordinary adventure around the world. I'm your host, Jill Dutton, and I am thrilled to be your guide through the mesmerizing tapestry of cultures, landscapes, and experiences that await us. Global Journeys with Jill Dutton is more than just a travel podcast. It's an exploration of humanity itself. Through the power of storytelling, we illuminate the lives of the remarkable individuals we encounter along the way. Whether it's through the eyes of a fishing guide, a distillery owner, a mixologist, a historian, chef, or even a farmer, each person we meet adds a rich layer to the narrative of culture and place. In this podcast, we embark on a transformative journey where the focus goes beyond the typical tourist attractions. Instead, we dive deep into the hearts and souls of the places we visit, uncovering the hidden gems and untold stories that make each destination truly unique. Join me as we venture off the beaten path, seeking authenticity, connection, and a deeper understanding of the world we inhabit. Together, we'll unravel the tapestry of cultures, one story at a time. Although my writing career began in the late 90s when I created and launched a wellness publication called Evolving Magazine, since 2015, I've worked as a travel writer on a mission to seek out the locally celebrated foods, liquor trends, outdoor activities, and stories of those I meet along the way. My work has been published in Wine Enthusiast, Afar, Woman's World, First for Women, Insider, Road Trippers, Modern Farmer, Chilled Magazine, and many more digital and print publications. I'm also the creator of Global Plates, The People We Meet, The Food They Eat, a syndicated column. Creating this podcast is the next step in my journey of sharing the stories of the people I've met along the way. So pack your curiosity, leave your preconceived notions behind, and let's embark on Global Journeys with Jill Dutton, where each episode promises to inspire, educate, and awaken the wanderlust within us all. Joining us on the show today is an industry pioneer, Mike Arguelles, an oyster aficionado and the owner, along with his wife Anita, of French Hermit Oysters. We'll be diving deep into the fascinating world of off-bottom oyster farming, exploring its techniques, benefits, and its impact on the Biloxi and coastal Mississippi region. We'll not only delve into the fascinating world of off-bottom oyster farming, but also take you on a virtual tour of coastal Mississippi with its pristine beaches and culinary seafood delights. It is within this captivating backdrop that Mike Arguelles and French Hermit Oysters have carved their niche. Their commitment to sustainable off-bottom oyster farming has not only elevated the culinary scene, but also contributed to the preservation of coastal Mississippi's natural resources. During my visit to coastal Mississippi, I spent a day on the boat with Mike, traveling to his oyster farm off of the coast of Deer Island. We discussed oyster aquaculture, sampled a few oysters fresh from the muddy waters, and watched as he harvested oysters, witnessing the magic of this unique farming method. As we ventured across the bay, he shared his wealth of knowledge, regaling me with tales of the oyster's journey from seed to plate and the delicate balance of nature that sustains this magnificent ecosystem. The experience of harvesting oysters firsthand was truly unforgettable, a true connection with the sea, the land, and the traditions that have shaped coastal Mississippi. It gave me a profound appreciation for the hard work and expertise that goes into every succulent oyster served on a plate. But that's not all. Today, Mike will also take us on an unforgettable journey through Biloxi and coastal Mississippi, uncovering hidden gems and local secrets that make this region a must-visit destination for any adventurer or food lover. Whether you're an oyster enthusiast, a curious traveler, or simply seeking an escape to the pristine shores, this episode promises to be a captivating exploration of off-bottom oyster farming and the vibrant coastal culture that thrives in Biloxi and coastal Mississippi. To view the itinerary from my trip to coastal Mississippi, visit globaljourneyswithjilldutton.com or find the link in this episode's notes. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Mike Arguelles to Global Journeys with Jill Dutton. Mike, thank you for joining us today and sharing your insights on oyster farming as well as the coastal Mississippi region. We can't wait to embark on this incredible journey with you. First off, I'm going to ask some quick questions that you can respond to briefly. The questions are designed to give the listener a quick overview of the destination, so don't go over a couple sentence description. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. What is Biloxi and or the coastal Mississippi area known for? What makes it a unique destination?
I think Biloxi is known for the casinos
Hmm.
today. There's quite a few of them, and the concentration of the casinos is around the east tip of Biloxi. And it's also Mississippi Gulf Coast has the longest man-made beach in the world. So
Oh,
that's a draw for tourists. I think that like most southern places with a mild climate, golf, and so with the fishing, like charter fishing. So all of these things make for a good draw.
great. Thank you. And what would you consider a perfect day for you?
I really enjoy being on the water
Hmm.
at the oyster farm or fishing. And, if the weather's good and the fish are biting or we get a lot done at the oyster farm, that's kind of a perfect day. It's productive.
Yeah. And what's your favorite fish to catch?
I like to pursue the white trout and ground mullet. It's a species that's fairly abundant and there's no regulations on the size and it's fast action. So, and they happen to hang around oyster reefs. And so they kind of easy to find.
Okay. Okay. Great. And if you or Anita aren't cooking it yourselves, what's your favorite restaurant for seafood?
I go to McElroy's, on a regular basis. When I come back from the oyster farm, I might go there by boat and treat my helpers to lunch.
Hmm.
Uh, if we splurge, we like to go to White Pillars. It's a new restaurant in an old building, and they serve a lot of local stuff, including the French Hermit oysters.
Oh,
So,
that's good. Okay. So, how has Biloxi's history and culture shaped the city's identity today?
well, I told you about the gaming, the casinos, the concentration. They happen to be the highest concentration is the east tip of Biloxi, which also used to be where the shrimp factories were.
Hmm.
Seafood was big business, and but if you look at the picture of the coast, Biloxi is a port, so it's the Biloxi Bay
Hmm.
uh, enters around the tip, and this whole peninsula is then that opening is kind of protected by Deer Island. Deer Island is about 5 miles long, and it's a natural island that protects that inlet, and it makes a good harbor. So the seafood industry built their plants and their piers in that protected area on the
Hmm.
tip. And whenever, I think it was in 1990, dockside gambling, the state was legalized gambling, but they wanted to restrict it in some way. And so what they did was said, we'll do dockside, and then it can only be done on formally commercial waterfront property. And these all the shrimp factories that were now moved or closed down, that was the prime real estate for the casinos. So
Hmm.
if you how did the history of the culture affect, what it is today, that's the biggest thing. Because, if you're gonna come here to do some gaming, you want to be able to walk between the different casinos, and
Yes.
you can do that on the point of Biloxi.
Okay, excellent. And finally, what's your best tip for someone visiting either Biloxi or the coastal Mississippi area?
Enjoy the food, and see what all there is. If you like to go deep sea fishing, you can charter a boat.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them you could probably do with short notice, and then stay out of the souvenir shops until it's raining. And then when you go, you got to go to Shark Heads.
uh,
Shark
great.
Heads is a destination for some people.
Is it?
It
And
is.
what is it? Is it a shop?
It's a souvenir shop, but
Okay.
they have big, I guess, sculptures of sharks, with open mouth, and I've seen people pull in, stop on the highway and get a picture, standing in the mouth of a big shark.
Right.
But yeah, they've been around a long time, and they say that in the summertime when it's raining, they get real busy
I
because
bet.
of people that are going to the beach.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for the quick look at coastal Mississippi. Now let's start talking about you and your oyster farm and how you're impacting the local community with your oysters. So, if you would tell us just really briefly about your journey as an oyster farmer, what led you to pursue this? I know you originally took a class through the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And
And it started in 2018.
mhm.
I think the state, in an effort to, spend some money wisely with the Restore Act, they were going to launch this new industry, which is the off-bottom oyster aquaculture.
Okay.
It's an alternative to the old way, which is natural reefs on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So I had always a link with DMR, and so I got wind of this program and inquired about signing up for that first class. Me and my wife did it together.
Okay.
And it was really good. They had about 5 classes we attended. We learned about the biology of the oyster and also how to set up a farm on a lease with the anchors, the ropes. So we went out in a boat and we did some hands-on things. And what was the neatest thing is they gave us, loaned us some gear, which were the cages and the bags, and they gave us 10,000 oyster seed to raise.
You said 10,000?
10,000.
Wow.
And it said, these are yours when they grow up, in 12 months. If you get the license you need, you can sell them. And so there was some revenue and it was a way for you to sample oyster farming without really making a commitment. We hadn't purchased anything, just our time.
Okay.
And we loved it. And so we decided to proceed with getting a 1 acre lease. We moved those oysters over to our lease and bought some cages of our own. And we've been in operation ever since.
And about how many oysters do you harvest now a week?
We harvest based on orders, and ours is a small farm, so we haven't harvested that many. But the most that we have ever gotten in one day was like 3,200.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot. I was going to say, when the day that I spent on the boat with you, I believe you harvested 900 for 9 different restaurants. So that, to me, that's a lot. So
yeah,
that's impressive.
I bet I had you counting oysters too.
It was a fun day. It really was. It was a highlight. It was a highlight.
We call ourselves a small farmer, and we talk about how did I get in it. I've always been interested in oysters. I had a recreational towing license, where in the years past, and we were allowed to harvest oysters when it was open in Pass Christian, up to 3 sacks in a 7-day period for your own use. So I have a little history on the old way too, but this new way, it was kind of a no-brainer. I have a marine construction company, and we had the boat, and we had some people that we could borrow from that business to work this farm. So it was like we had the resources in place.
Yes.
It was not much of a decision to give it a shot.
That's perfect. And if you could explain, I guess, a little bit for someone who might not know the difference between off-bottom, how is this different from, using the coastal reefs for harvesting?
Okay. I'll call it the natural on-bottom reefs are, in Mississippi. Most of them are in the western part of the Sound. That is the reefs that are in a water that is good quality and you can harvest oysters. We have oysters all over the state. I think the biggest reef is right there between the 2 rivers, Pascagoula, south of the shipyard. It's a huge, healthy reef, but the water quality is not good and not ever going to be good. And so they've got it listed as restricted. You cannot harvest and take those to market. So, but the state uses those oysters, to seed the other areas whenever they need to. And so this is what's been happening for a long time. The reefs in Pass Christian have suffered from natural disasters since Katrina, and it takes about 3 years for oyster to grow to the size that is legal size, which is
3 inches.
Oh, right, 3 inches.
Okay.
So that's one of the big differences between on bottom and off bottom. The oysters that we grow, we purchase ourselves as seed from a hatchery. Those are produced by the biologists, and they use only a handful, 2 dozen natural oysters in a confined closed water system. So if you talked about sustainability, that's the biggest thing is we're not taking away from anything, from the natural reefs. We're using seed that's raised in a hatchery, and therefore we're not restricted by the size.
Mm-hmm.
The natural oyster, they're not going to let you take them unless they mature, so that they have a chance to spawn and repopulate the reef. Well, since our oysters come from a hatchery, we're not repopulating anything, so we can take them at any size. That's a big thing, because the market that we're shooting for, the off-bottom market, they like them, smaller than 3 inches.
Okay.
And they will grow to that size in less than a year in some cases.
Wow.
14 months. If you look at natural disasters affecting the population, if it takes 3 years over in Pass Christian to get the oysters up, and we can get ours out the door in 13 months, then we stand a better chance of making money between natural disasters. There's some other main differences that I really like to talk about. One of them is we kind of regulate ourselves in that, we can harvest without going to a station, checking out to go to the reef. We buy our tags ahead of time. We do fill out a trip ticket every day that we harvest, but we can go any day that's not a state holiday. I guess the Marine Patrol, we call in and let them know when we're on the lease. They may check us, if we're out there. But we can even harvest on Sunday.
And during our visit, when I was on the boat with you, you had mentioned terroir and that, like a fine wine, that the locale and the local environment and conditions that they affect the flavor. Can you tell me how that contributes to the quality and taste of the oysters you produce?
I think that it makes it unique. The same species of oyster that's grown on the East Coast, and whenever if you go to a oyster house that's serving a half shell, you order them like you might do sushi off a little menu card. You say, give me 2 of these from Maryland, and so you can get them on your tray, and you can kind of compare as you eat them. They are tagged, and so this is something people like to do.
And you personally, how do you feel like the water affects the flavor? Is it a sweetness, or is it?
Well, they taste good. I don't have a trained palate. I kind of leave that up to the chefs.
Okay.
There's one at the White Pillars. He's the owner of the business, but he's an award-winning chef. There's one in Ocean Springs, and they're good at giving the oyster a flavor profile. And I leave it up to them.
So are there any specific techniques or practices that you use to ensure the sustainability of your oyster farming operations?
I really was energized by the farming task that we had. I have a boat, that 24-foot Carolina skiff. You was on it, but it evolved, and I put some systems on it. And the last picture I sent you, it shows that area. I call it like a little manufacturing plant, because I pull the cage up on the side of the boat, and then I can ergonomically, easy on the body. One person could do it. Take the oysters out, put them in a tray, put them through the tumbler in a little work cell, sort the size, clean the equipment, and then take out the ones that are bigger to put in a separate place. So what this does for the business is, it makes the oysters able to, when you split them and keep them clean, they grow faster. And then you get those ones that are growing real fast, ready to harvest, right where they are. And so those are the ones that give you the most profit margin. If you can sell them sometimes in 8 months, then that's that much less time you had to deal with them.
Yes.
Before you liquidate it.
Okay. And do you have any memorable or interesting experiences that you've had while working as an oyster farmer in Biloxi?
I do like to take people out who are interested in going. I took a cotton farmer out, met him the night before, and it seemed like I'm always talking about oysters and oyster farming. And when they're interested, I'll take them out on a boat. I even extended an invitation to Jack E. Davis, who is a Pulitzer Prize winning author of The Gulf. That's coming to Ocean Springs. And him and John Anderson, I knew, accepted an invitation. So I took him out on the boat. And he told me, he said, now, Mike, he said, I'm looking forward to going, but I don't eat raw oysters. I said, I don't think there's a law against that. But while he was out there, I think he must have texted his girlfriend in New York, and she talked him into trying one. So, and he liked it. So I like sharing, the experience of going out. And I think there may be even some opportunities, ecotourism. In Mississippi, we have one. There's a boat you can go out and they set a shrimp net full of trawl to show the tourists, how that's done. Yes. But I know other places in the country, the aquaculture, oyster aquaculture off bottom is also something that people would like to do, and they would pay to go out and experience it, sample the oysters and what have you.
I'm sure it was a fascinating experience to watch. I think your helper's name is Tim. Is that correct?
Tim Brown.
Yeah. And he would, when he pulled the oysters out and then spraying them down and the muck is flying everywhere. And then, the process of cleaning them and sorting them and then you opening them up and us getting to taste it right there on the boat. It was so unique and such an amazing experience. So yeah, I could definitely see people being interested in coming and experiencing that.
Yeah. When we do eat oysters, on the boat, I have a refractometer, which is an instrument. You put a little bead of water on it and look through it, and it can tell you what the salinity is of the water. Now, oysters are exactly like the water they're in because they filter feed and they take so much water through that if the water's salty, the oyster will be salty. When someone eats raw oyster, I'll check the salinity and tell them. I said, now you can calibrate your tongue so you know what 20 parts per thousand tastes like.
How interesting. And how does the oyster farming industry in Biloxi contribute to the local economy and community?
There's not a whole lot of volume in this off bottom. They're targeting the half shell market, and it's just low volume. We sell ours by the piece, usually in a 100-count sack. The old way was sold by sacks, which had about 350 oysters in it. And those oysters went to a processing plant where they have people that open them, so they have jobs there, and they pack them and they sell them. And there's one in Pass Christian that I know is called Crystal Seas, and they work oysters. Now this off bottom oyster that I have, we pack everything out there on the boat. So when it comes in, it goes straight to the dealer. And so we don't have a processing plant that employs people, that say it would add much to the economy.
Okay. Well, and that leads to my next question. Where could someone find your oysters? So are they solely in restaurants or are you in markets? And how many different restaurants are serving your oysters?
Most of the French Hermit oysters go to Quality Seafood as a step to going to a dealer. The dealer picks them up and takes them to Birmingham, and then they sell to their customers that are in like 7 different states. So, but we do sell directly to Quality, so you can buy them at Quality. I think you have to call and order them. But some of the casinos like IP, there's a restaurant, 32, they serve the French Hermit. White Pillars, Chef Austin Summerall has been a good customer. He's famous for using local produce and what have you. And then Vestige in Ocean Springs as a customer we deliver directly to. And then there's a fella called Mike, his name is Michael Paletti. He has he's a chef and he puts on these little dinner parties on his lot, and it's a company called Dinner on a Lot. And he always likes to serve French Hermit oysters, as one of the appetizers.
Excellent. Well, the quality is delicious, and I'm so pleased that you're utilizing this, the sustainable practice of harvesting oysters. So, what's next for French Hermit oysters?
Well, my wife, her strength is in marketing, and she took this brand that we picked, which is French Hermit, named after the Hermit of Deer Island. So the local people would know the Hermit of Deer Island. He used to have his own little reef out there and oyster company. And she grew this brand such that we'll get more orders than our 1 acre could supply. So we enlisted some of the other farmers, and they were happy to help us fill these orders. And so that's still going on. But we're not really growing our 1 acre lease, but she is still getting help from other farmers, we're not sure exactly where French Hermit's gone, but we had bags printed up, with the logo. And so everybody that's all the farmers that are filling the orders, they use the bags that we have.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much, Mike, for talking with me today and telling us about not only the off-bottom aquaculture industry for oysters in Biloxi and coastal Mississippi, but also about the area itself. Did you have anything else that I might have forgotten to ask you about that you wanted to talk about?
I might say this, Jill, that, the state has done a lot to try and restore the natural reefs. But like I said, it takes 3 years before they get big enough. They've had troubles for one reason or another, but I really hope that those are going to come back. Even in Biloxi Bay, they built up some material that would support an oyster reef there. And so they take oysters from Pascagoula. I'll tell you about that big reef. As brood stock. They would bring them over and put them out on this area that has culch, which is something that when the oysters spawn, they need, when they go from larva to shellfish, they stick to something that's suitable. And that's all been done, in Biloxi Bay. I was really surprised that there's a reef right outside of the Ocean Springs Inner Harbor. They call it Shearwater Reef. And it has been closed, for 50 years. And a few years ago, of course, they monitor the water, and whenever the water quality is good, they'll open the reefs. And after 50 years, it opened up. And I think it may be an indication of the handle that they have on waste streams. Ocean Springs has got a wastewater plant that used to feed right out into the inner harbor, once it was processed. But now it is, they all have these grinder pumps, and they pressurize it, and it's pumped way up on Seaman Road, upland, and the water that is cleaned up from that is spread over crops, instead of directly into the water. I think that may have had a lot to do with, why they were able to open that reef after 50 years. It's exciting to me. I know that they did some studies where they put dye in the water in Biloxi, and they use drones in the air to monitor the currents, the flows, where these clean water from waste streams actually go. But the south side of Deer Island has a long history of good quality water. And so they classified that area as always open. And that is a really important thing, because if you're supplying oysters to your customers, they don't want to hear that I can't harvest now because the state closed it. So that really helps Deer Island Park.
As we come to the conclusion of this episode of Global Journeys with Jill Dutton, I'd like to thank Mike Arguelles for sharing his view of coastal Mississippi and the local flavors of off-bottom oyster aquaculture. If listening today has you wanting to learn more, there are 2 pieces of bonus content available at globaljourneyswithjilldutton.com. There, you'll find an article about my experience on the oyster boat with Mike and his wife Anita's recipe for oyster soup. Plus, there's an extra Q&A with Mike that delves further into the topics discussed today. Enjoy! As we are on this exciting podcast journey together, I invite you, our incredible audience, to be a part of it. Share your own travel stories, insights, and recommendations with us. Whether you have a hidden gem in your hometown or a dream destination that has captured your imagination, we want to hear from you. Your suggestions will help shape the future episodes of Global Journeys, guiding us towards extraordinary locations and experiences that deserve a spotlight. Remember, this podcast is not just about the host or the guests. It's about the collective exploration and discovery that unites us all as wanderers in this vast world. So reach out to us through our website, social media channels, or email and let your voice be heard. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Global Journeys with Jill Dutton. Until next time, may your travels be filled with endless curiosity, open-hearted encounters, and transformative adventures. Safe travels, fellow explorers, and keep wandering. Coming up on the next episode of Global Journeys with Jill Dutton, we'll take a deep look at the vibrant city of Memphis, where music history echoes through its streets. Join us as we sit down with Cole Early, the archives manager at the iconic Overton Park Shell, the very stage where Elvis Presley took his first electrifying steps into stardom. From legendary performances by the Allman Brothers to Black Sabbath, this venue has witnessed it all. Together, we'll explore Memphis as a destination, uncovering the allure of Overton Park Shell and its profound impact on the city's cultural fabric. Then we shift gears to delve into the pulsating music scene in Memphis, the city's current musical landscape, the birthplace of blues, iconic venues, and where to experience live music at its finest. Tune in as we unravel the captivating stories behind the music and the magic that makes Memphis an unparalleled destination for music enthusiasts.